What is going on, everybody? UFC Oklahoma City is in the books, and it was quite a lopsided win for Dricus Du Plessis against Kamaru Usman. Personally, I thought it was going to be a little closer, but still was a nice, fairly entertaining fight. In this video, I'm going to go over my reaction, my thoughts of what entailed, of what transpired on Saturday night. And what's next for both of those fighters? DDP, is he next in line for the championship against Sean Strickland? And what about Usman? Does he call it a career? Should he call it a career? And what's his next fight? Welterweight, middleweight? There's a lot to discuss there. And then I'll give my thoughts on one of the surprising fights, or more of the entertaining and just statement wins that happened earlier on that card, which was between Fatima Klein and Tabitha Ricci. So those are the three ones I'm going to hit today, but let's just dive right into it. What a win for Dricus Du Plessis over Kamaru Usman, the former welterweight champion, one of the greatest in that division of all time. Trying to come back up to middleweight after he had a little short turnaround or short notice fight against Khamzat Chimaev. I think it was about 2 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, if my mind serves me right. But either way, it's been quite some time since he's been back at that weight class. And personally, as much as he's been away from the cage, it's been a year and he's 39 years old, I thought Usman would go in there and look a lot more aggressive, more sure, more experienced. But I think as it comes with any sports, father time does kick in, and Usman against DDP looked outclassed and outmatched, especially when it came to speed. And credit to DDP. I mean, of course, he did his homework. He made sure he's not going to allow Usman to make his impact, make his presence felt through wanting to get takedowns, try takedowns, because he had a counter for everything. He was quick, he was agile, he was moving. And it started especially when he threw a couple knees that Usman wanted to feint or actually go in for those entry points. And those were money. I mean, talk about doing your homework. Talk about making sure, like, I'm not going to get taken down again like the way Khamzat just ragdolled me last year. Because that was the reality of what happened to him. As much as it wasn't really an entertaining fight, it was just, okay, cool. Khamzat dominates you, taken down, and then it's just, okay, now what? There wasn't really much going on in that fight. So as much as it was a dominant victory for Khamzat, it was boring because he wasn't working for submission. He wasn't beating him down. And I think one thing DDP realizes, I can't allow that to happen. And how do I stop that from happening? I just got to stop the first domino from falling over. And that's from reducing the chances of you being able to take me down. And that's where those knees come in. That's when his footwork comes in. That's where he really just was on point, and you can tell he really worked on that. I'm not sure. We're not sure exactly how he's gonna look when he's actually on the ground. I mean, Usman had him for a second. He got right back up. I think that's more so of just DDP going up against a guy who is just more athletic and more explosive than now at this point in his career. Because if that's 2-3 years ago into Usman, I think he does a better job with his entries, because how slow he was trying to grab a single or a double leg or do anything that was just a level change to DDP. DDP read that. He read him like a book. You couldn't have been more predictable. And then obviously I know DDP's smart enough. He knows, hey, I know you're trying to do this. I know it. And I know I can stand and bang with you. If not, I actually have the edge, because he did. DDP did have the edge over Usman in that fight. It wasn't close. That is like, I don't have to worry about you here. So if I overcommit on you trying to even fake me on an entry, I know I'm going to throw something or move something, and it doesn't matter, because if you want to counter, you're too slow. You've never been that great of a stand-up fighter anyways. And I'm just going to really just beat you at I'm just going to stop you from doing what I'm going to stop you. I'm going to prevent you from making me play in your world. And he did a phenomenal job of that. I think if anything, this is definitely one of DDP's best performances. Granted, again, it is against Usman, who's on the back end of his career. He's not usually a middleweight. So there is some of that's like, okay, you're facing against a guy where it really shouldn't have been that surprising, if surprising at all to some people that it did go that way. It was to a degree for me, because I thought, well, how much is DDP really going to improve his ground game, improve his defense takedowns compared to what he did against Khamzat? But Usman just was not able to play his game. He just wasn't able to get comfortable. And I think it really just comes down as simple as number one, DDP knew what was happening, did his homework, he has improved, and also Usman's just slow. Because if it's like, if you're not going to be explosive in that realm, and DDP's able to like, already knows he has the advantage of speed on you, and he knows what you're trying to do, then he's not going to, it wasn't really straining him, it wasn't stressing DDP out. So that's why I say, cool, we're going to stay in the stand-up game, dope. And even though Usman had maybe like 3 or 5, somewhere in that range, somewhere in that realm, give or take a couple, that he did have moments where he looked better than DDP, but ultimately it was like 90-10 DDP the whole fight. I didn't see more than one round. If I was a judge, I was scoring, I wouldn't give Usman more than one round, probably the third. I've seen some people give him the 5th. I just don't know. I don't think he did enough in any total round other than maybe that third, because DDP wasn't inactive, and it's like, okay, Usman's staving him off, and he had a couple moments, and that's it. That was his most threatening. And man, but it's just what a fight that was by DDP, to look so crispy, so sharp, to look like, hey, you don't belong here, brother. Usman, bro, go back to welterweight. Don't come back here. Don't face me again. And it definitely was put on display. Outclassed. It was an embarrassing fight because, you know, as much as Usman had several moments in that fight where he was going to get his lights shut out, and he probably did for a half second, which credit to him, like toughness, man. If anything, all he did was show that he does belong still, that he can fight because of his way he can wear that damage, recover, and his cardio. Speed's probably gone. Maybe some other things that, like, from a technical standpoint, has probably edged off, which is, again, it's going to happen. You're 39 years old. Your knees aren't the greatest. So that's going to happen. But again, credit to DDP. Hell of a job, hell of a win to look that impressive. And that's what leads me over to now what's next for Dricus Du Plessis. He gets the win over Usman. Does he get that title shot with Sean Strickland? I think it's warranted. I think it's warranted because he does have 2 wins over the champion. I know Nasruddin Imavov has a case to be next, but I think if there's one thing that the UFC has shown is, like, we don't give a damn about these ranking system. We don't care about Imavov. They're doing the same thing with the lightweight division with Arman Sarukian, even though Arman's like a much more entertaining fighter. But it shows to show that if you're not entertaining, number one, and if you're not in our good graces, number two, you're going to really struggle. It's happened in the past with Bilal Muhammad. It's happening right now at featherweight. So it's like, is Nasruddin gonna get it? I don't think so. Maybe he does. Maybe he fights Strickland in the next few months. Who knows? But I know for sure what the UFC would love, especially the way that DDP won and won in that fashion. It's because he won in that fashion that I can see the UFC, and why I think maybe you just throw him in there. You know, and I'm usually big on, like, just let the ranked out opponents go. Let them get that fight. Let them do that. It's just kind of the same way I'm thinking, like, Mozart Evloev should have his fight against Volk, right? But I don't think it's going to happen. I think DDP's going to get the next fight, and I think it's warranted. But one thing for sure that shouldn't happen is do not give it to Khamzat Chimaev. I mean, dear Lord, who wants to see that again? It was a decent fight, but the way you guys sold it, propped it up with the hate and everything, it didn't match it, and you guys are friends after? Come on, man. You fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, go to hell. Like, we don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. I think DDP would be an excellent next match for Sean Strickland. Let's go round 3. DDP's boxed his socks off in those 2 fights. A little closer in the first round, but ultimately it was always been DDP. And let's see, Strickland, have you learned it? Are you gonna do better against a guy who's in your realm? If we get if this is any indication that DDP is good again, the way he showed against Usman, it's gonna be the same result, and he's gonna be a champion again. And especially because he didn't get his rematch, which there's no way you were gonna give him that rematch last year after getting 50-45 the whole time. The one person who was only giving DDP fits is Khamzat. Then, hey, we can just put him in there, Strickland. We know we're going to get an entertaining build-up, and we know they're going to get, hopefully, an entertaining fight, and DDP's probably going to win. Probably should be Nasruddin Imavov. I don't think that's the way it's going to go, so DDP after this win, I'm not mad at it. Just let him get it. As for Kamaru Usman, what's next for him? I alluded to it earlier. I think we gotta look at the real point about what's his career. Is he gonna fight again? Is he not? He pretty much kind of indicated, yeah, I'm gonna fight. And even if he has second chance, second thoughts, I think he should, because as much as like he was pretty outclassed against DDP, I think there does say something that like, hey, he didn't get his lights puts out, the cardio, and he did have a bit of moments. Granted, it wasn't like consecutive, and it wasn't really, he didn't really have a more than maybe like 30 seconds of his own time that is like, yeah, he's in this fight. I think he showed he belonged. Now, I think that's the next question. Where does he belong? Is it middleweight? Is it back to welterweight? He said in the lead up in a press conference that he's a money weight fighter, which at this point just shows like, hey, I'm just trying to cash out. And I think that adds up to why DDP hinted at like, hey, only one person hasn't signed the contract. It's Usman. And of course, Usman's going to leverage. He's like, hey, I'm still that guy. I deserve money, and good for him, as he should. Every fighter should be doing that. And he's leveraging. So good, got his money. And that's why he's at middleweight. But I don't think his career is there. I think the moment that you lose to DDP, because if Usman had beaten DDP, I think he's next in line for sure. Because as impressive of a win as DDP had against Usman, it would have been way more impressive if Usman got the win over DDP. Because again, it's not your home territory at weight. DDP was a man on fire for the last 2 years or so. It would just go to show that Usman belongs here, and then you got that build up, that connection from the past with Strickland because he has a window over. I think that would have been great, especially for a guy who's like up against it with his age. It made more sense to give him that leapfrog into the title after winning his DDP to fight Strickland than it would have at welterweight, because first of all, welterweight is stacked. It's nowhere near the same as middleweight, where middleweight's kind of a snooze fest with the amount of fighters. And then also it's like, Usman beat Joaquin Buckley last year and was clamoring for a title fight. Like, brother, you were off a 2-fight losing streak. Like, 3-fight losing streak, but 2 in the division. Like, what are you talking about? And you fought against Buckley, who's not even top 5. So he was kind of tripping on that. But this one would have made sense because DDP's top 3. He was a former champion just less than a year ago. That would have made sense. But now as you have lost, I think you're better off at welterweight. It's just unfortunate because he's going to have to claw and scratch for any title fight in either division. It's going to be tough for him. Welterweight probably is the toughest, but he can probably impose more of his wrestling skills at that weight class than he can at middleweight, where they're more tougher and obviously bigger, even though Usman does carry that weight well. I just think it's that speed. You know, he's not going to have the speed to match up with them, and even though DDP is definitely one of the top with his speeds, I don't think he's going to have it. Because now that you lost against DDP, what are you looking at? You're looking at least 2 more wins before you get back on the title picture. You can say the same thing with welterweight, but let's say no one looks at it as DDP loss, which would probably be valid. It's like, okay, you lost your last fight, but guess what? It wasn't in the same division. You beat Buckley. Maybe you beat one more person in the top 3, top 5. Maybe Bilal Muhammad or Sean Brady. Sean Brady would be nice. That'd be a good matchup. But, man, it's just tough because we already know who's next to the welterweight. It's Carlos Prates. Carlos Prates against Ian Gary Makhachev, whoever wins that fight. So it's tough. It's tough. It's tough landing. It's a tough spot for Usman, who you can make the case he probably should retire, but I think he's still got 1 or 2 fights in him to at least salvage the ending of his career, to make it illustrious, to, I guess, rubber stamp it. Not like he needs it, because it's not going to really derail those 3 to 4 dominant years he has as champion. So I think his championship days are kind of over. At the end of the day, no matter which direction he goes. But ultimately, I think he still belongs, and he showed it enough, even though it was probably the worst beatdown we've ever seen him. He's lost, you know, but he wasn't beaten down against Khamzat. He wasn't beaten down against Leon. Maybe that rematch against Leon, where the last one in Leon in London was the closest he got beaten down. But ultimately, like, this one was just, it was a rough one to watch for him. And last but not least, the fight that caught my eye was probably the most exciting, or just the most, like, revealing, I would say. And that was Tabitha Ricci against Fatima Klein. I think that was a coming out power for Fatima Klein. She caught my eye personally. I think she fought on the Madison Square Garden card last year, and she looked swell. And I think the fight before last, she's pretty much, I've only caught peep of her for her last 2 fights, and they've been solid. She looks crispy. She looks like she belongs. And I thought that in her last fight a year ago, last year, and against Ricci, who a little overhyped, you know, I'm not really sure exactly what she does really good at. She seems just more decent in terms of well-roundedness, but nothing she necessarily is really good at. Just one trait. And she was just completely mauled. She was completely decimated by Fatima on the ground, on the feet, and just Fatima just picked her apart and just statement win like, hey, I'm that guy. I'm that girl. You know, I'm the lead dog in this division now. And after a performance like that, I'm thinking, can anyone in this division, in the strawweight division, beat her? Not named Zhang Weili? I don't think so. You know, I don't think so. It kind of goes hand in hand with the similar performance with DDP, because it's like, okay, wait. If you replicate or come close to this performance against other opponents in your division, no one's going to stop you. No one's going to stop you. I mean, I would take Fatima over Mackenzie Dern right now, over Jillian Robinson, and over Tatiana Suarez, who, as I name that, I think that's your next opponent. Tatiana Suarez should fight Fatima Klein next. Make that happen maybe in MSG again, so you really can build a star in Fatima. Or if Tatiana wins and it's cool, guess what? We've former title challenger. She was our last prospect in the division, and she's coming back up again. Or end it right on the year and give Fatima a nice little 4 or 5 months to build up for that fight. That wouldn't be bad. I think can't go wrong with either. I think that should be the way to do it, especially now, because in less than a month, or about a month, the strawweight fighter is going to be figured out. The winner of that most likely will face Zhang Weili, unless, you know, now Zhang Weili's out for longer. I don't know what she's doing. I still am not sure why she's not fighting, but I'm sure it's for a good reason, which that fight won't happen until, I'd imagine, no earlier than January, February, you know, whenever Zhang faces Dern or Robertson. But I think that's the fight to make. Fatima Klein against Tatiana Suarez, that'd be solid. You know, Tatiana's coming off that nice win over Lupi Godinez. Even though for a second early in that first round, she looked like she was losing. But I think this is going to be a good one. It's like, hey, Tatiana, like, you got 2 wins now. This is going to be your 3rd. If you could stop this up-and-comer who's really clearly looks like a top 3, top 5 fighter in the division, and you can either stop this blazing speed train, or you're going to get run over, and now you're just going to be a stepping stone for this prospect, for this up-and-comer that's going to easily probably be the next in line for whoever Zhang's going to face after the winner between Dern and Robertson. Can't wait for that fight if that happens, but getting a little ahead of ourselves. So all these fights that night, Oklahoma City was pretty solid card overall, and man, just great job for DDP. Usman should probably stay fighting. No title shot in the future. Fatima Klein, lights out performance, welcome me out party. Don't be surprised if she's contending for a title the next year.